The gift no one wanted. The hall was filled with laughter. Tall alien nobles stood in silver robes, their long fingers holding glowing goblets. The air smelled like burning spices. Strange music played from floating orbs in the corners of the room. But in the center, something dark was happening. Baron Thraz, ruler of the planet Valkyria, stood on a raised platform. His 4 eyes gleamed with cruel delight. He was large, with thick red skin and heavy gold chains across his chest. In front of him stood a human, Jack. Jack was not like the others in the room. He wore a simple black jacket and dusty boots. His hair was messy, and his hands showed signs of hard work. A former soldier, now a mechanic for hire. He looked out of place. Human, Baron Thraz said, his voice echoing. You have served me well. You fixed my war cruisers faster than any alien in my court. Jack stayed silent. He knew this was not going to end well. The Baron smirked. And for your service, I give you a gift. 2 guards came forward pushing a small hover chair. On it sat a girl, young, thin, and silent. Her skin was light violet, and her long white hair fell around her face. Her eyes were large but empty. Her body didn't move at all. This is my daughter Arinya, the Baron said mockingly. She is broken, useless, a shame to my bloodline, but perhaps she can keep you company, or maybe clean your tools. The aliens in the hall burst into laughter. Jack looked at the girl. She couldn't move. She couldn't speak. Her hands rested like stone on her lap. She cannot speak, cannot walk, cannot even lift a spoon, the Baron said. But she's yours, human. Do with her as you wish. More laughter. Jack's fists tightened. He looked back at the Baron. You're giving me a person? As a joke? Of course. What would a human do with a royal daughter anyway? The Baron grinned. Take her, or leave her in the trash. It's all the same to me. Jack looked at Arinya again. Her eyes didn't blink, but he saw something. A slight twitch, a shimmer of emotion. He stepped forward and knelt beside her. Can you hear me? No answer, but her eyes moved, just a bit. Jack looked up. I'll take her. The hall went silent for a second. Then more laughter followed. You humans are truly strange, one alien noble sneered. He's serious, Jack didn't care. He lifted the hover chair handles and began to push Arinya out of the hall. Try not to drop her, another alien shouted behind him. Jack didn't stop. Outside the palace, the stars above Valkyria blinked like cold fireflies. Jack guided the hover chair down the rocky path to his small workshop near the scrapyard. The night wind was sharp, but he wrapped Arinya in a blanket. When they arrived, he placed her in a warm corner under a heater. His workshop was full of machines, broken drones, old spaceship parts, and glowing tools. It was messy, but safe. He pulled up a chair and sat near her. I don't know if you can understand me, Jack said softly. But I saw something in your eyes. She didn't move. I'm not like your father, he continued. I don't throw people away. I fix broken things. I fix ships, engines. Maybe I can help you too. Still no response. Jack stood and began working on a small scanner device, a tool he used to check for electric signals in machines, but he could modify it to detect brain activity. After hours of tuning, he gently placed the scanner near Arinya's head. The screen blinked. Small signals. Weak, but present. Not dead. Not empty. Her mind was alive. Jack smiled. I knew it. He sat back and looked at her again. They called you useless, but I think you're smarter than all of them. Maybe your body doesn't work, but your brain is still strong. He pulled out an old interface device. If you're still in there, Arinya, I'll find a way to bring you back. Outside, thunder rolled across the dark sky. Inside the small workshop, one human and one forgotten alien girl sat together, surrounded by machines, sparks, and the faint hope of something greater. The hidden mind, the storm outside howled like a wild beast. Lightning flashed across the alien sky, and the roof of Jack's workshop creaked. Inside, everything was still, except for a blinking light on a machine next to Arinya. Jack hadn't slept all night. He stared at the screen, watching the brainwave signals slowly dance across it. The pattern was strange, not random, not like the patterns of a damaged brain. It was organized, like language, like thought. "She's thinking," Jack whispered. "She's still in there." But how could he talk to her? Jack walked to his tool bench and pulled out something rare, an old neural translator chip, used long ago to help wounded pilots talk with their ships. It was broken, half-fried and dusty, but maybe he could fix it. For the next 12 hours, Jack didn't eat, didn't blink. He worked with tiny tools, soldering circuits, whispering to himself, "Come on, work." At last, he connected the translator chip to Arinya's neural scanner. Then he waited. Nothing happened at first. Then, a tiny sound came from the speaker. "Hello?" Jack nearly dropped his tool. He leaned in. "Arinya, is that you?" No reply. He checked the signal. The translator was catching electrical pulses from her brain, but they were weak, like someone trying to scream through a wall. He adjusted the sensitivity. Try again. Static. Then, scared. Cold. Dark. Jack felt a chill down his spine. She was trapped, not in a prison of walls, but of her own body. "I'm here," Jack said gently. "I'm not going to hurt you. You're safe now." "Who?" "You. I'm Jack. The human your father gave you to." Silence. Then, father laughed. All laughed. "Yes," Jack said bitterly. "They think you're a joke, but I don't. I see you." No words came for a while. Jack adjusted the translator one more time, then stood and made her a warm drink. Though she couldn't drink it, he placed it near her, hoping the smell would calm her. Then something strange happened. The lights in the workshop flickered. Jack turned around. His control panel, unplugged, was typing something on its own. He rushed over. Words appeared on the screen. "Help me speak." Jack stared at Arinya. She wasn't just thinking. She was hacking. "You did that?" he asked, stunned. She blinked, slowly. Jack knew what he had to do next. He pulled out a robotic arm he had salvaged from a medical drone, delicate and precise. If he could connect her brain waves to the arm, maybe she could move it. Maybe she could point, maybe she could write. It took hours to calibrate. The machine hummed and clicked. He placed the robotic hand beside her and linked it to the translator. Jack waited. At first, the hand trembled, then it twitched. Jack held his breath. The hand lifted slowly, shaking, then stopped. Moments later, one metal finger pointed at a word on the screen. "More." Jack laughed. He couldn't help it. He looked at her. "You're incredible." The storm outside grew louder. Wind slammed against the windows, but inside something powerful had begun. Jack saw it clearly now. Arinya wasn't broken. She was trapped. And now, she was breaking free. And he would help her do it, no matter what. Secrets of the past. Jack couldn't sleep anymore. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Arinya's metal finger shaking as it pointed at the word, more. She wanted more than just survival. She wanted truth. She wanted freedom. But to help her, Jack needed to understand what had been done to her, and why. The next morning, Jack returned to the palace. Not through the front gates, but through the forgotten tunnels beneath. These tunnels were old, built before the Baron's rule. They smelled like rust, dust, and old betrayal. He moved carefully, carrying a small scanner in one hand and a plasma cutter in the other. At the end of one tunnel, behind a sealed metal door, he found it, an ancient archive. It was full of dust-covered memory cubes, old alien data tablets, and holographic files, locked behind security codes. Jack was good with machines. He cracked the codes in minutes, and what he found made his blood run cold. Record the figure 47. Arinya's evaluation, age 5. The hologram came to life. A younger version of Baron Thraz stood with a group of alien scientists. A small girl sat quietly in the background, her eyes wide, watching a spinning star map. "She has the gift," one scientist said. "Her mind is evolving faster than anyone we've studied. She's already solving level 9 equations." "Is she stable?" asked Thraz. "Yes, perfectly healthy." Another file. Record 48. Order of restraint. Baron Thraz, again. Alone. "She's too powerful," he whispered. "She will take everything. I cannot let a child, even my own blood, rise above me." He signed a digital order. Neurological inhibitor. Permanent. Jack clenched his fists. He understood now. Arinya wasn't born broken. She was made that way, by her father. He destroyed her future just to keep his power. Jack copied everything, and erased his tracks. As he left the archive, his scanner buzzed, motion nearby. Jack turned fast, but instead of a guard, an old alien stood at the corner. She wore dark robes and had 4 glowing eyes. "I was waiting," she said. "You've found the truth, haven't you?" Jack didn't answer. "You're the human who took the girl," the old alien said. "I was her nurse when she was born. I warned them, but no one listened." "She was betrayed," Jack said, quietly. "Yes," the nurse whispered, "and now the Baron will do worse if he learns you're unlocking her mind." She handed Jack a small chip. "This is from her mother, hidden all these years." Then she vanished into the shadows. Back in the workshop, Arinya waited. Her metal hand twitched with excitement as Jack walked in. He knelt beside her. "I found out everything," he said softly. "He did this to you. He feared you. But he was right to fear you." He plugged. In the chip the nurse gave him, a soft hologram appeared. A beautiful alien woman with Arinya's eyes. "My daughter, if you're seeing this, it means you survived. It means someone saw your light. You were meant to lead, to heal, to guide. Never let anyone cage your soul. You are not weak, you are more." Tears formed in Jack's eyes. Arinya's robotic hand pointed again. "Me?" Jack nodded. "Yes, that's your mother." For a moment, silence fell. Then the robotic fingers started tapping a new message on the terminal. "I will fight," Jack smiled through the pain in his heart. "Yes," he whispered, "we'll fight together." But in the palace, Baron Thraz had already learned the human had been snooping, and this time, he wasn't laughing. The first steps a quiet hum filled. The workshop. Arinya lay still in her hover chair, but her mind buzzed with electricity. Her eyes blinked faster now. Her brainwaves were strong, no longer like soft whispers, but like thunder behind glass. Jack worked beside her, carefully tightening the final bolts on his most dangerous project yet, a full-body neural exoframe. Looked like armor, but it wasn't for war. It was for walking. He had spent days building it. He used pieces from ancient Terran exosuits, Valkyrian medical tech, and even parts from broken battle drones. It was sleek, silver-black, with soft light lines running across the arms and legs. Jack called it the Strider unit. He placed it gently around Arinya's fragile body, locking the joints around her arms and legs. Then he attached the brain link, cable to the back of her neck. "Are you ready?" Jack asked. The robotic voice from the translator answered, "Yes, try." Jack pressed the activation switch. The suit whirred. Energy flowed through it. Then, Arinya's fingers twitched. Then her wrist. Jack's heart raced. "You're doing it." Her arm lifted slowly, unsteady but moving. He helped guide her hand to a metal rail on the wall. Her robotic legs wobbled, but didn't fall. Then, step by step, she stood. The sound of the suit's motors filled the air, but all Jack could hear was his own heartbeat. "You're standing," he whispered. "You're really standing." Arinya looked up. Her voice came through the speaker, more stable now. "I am not broken." Jack laughed with pride. "No, you're not." That night, Jack took her outside under the stars. The Air was cold, and the sky above was full of swirling gas clouds and distant moons. He placed her hand on a small control stick attached to the hover chair. It was time for the next step. Movement. He guided her first turn. But soon, she started, steering on her own. The hover chair rolled gently over the stone path. She's learning faster than any AI I've ever seen, Jack whispered to himself. Suddenly, an alert beeped from inside his workshop. Jack rushed back. His security camera feed was flashing. Red soldiers, the Baron's crest. They were searching the outskirts, moving toward the workshop. They know, Jack muttered. They're coming for her. He rushed to Arinya. We need to leave now. Can you walk again? Try. Jack placed her back into the Strider unit. It clicked into place. She stood. This time, faster, stronger. Each step was robotic, but steady. Then, she walked. One step, another, then a third. Jack watched in awe. But the moment broke when an explosion lit up the night sky. The Baron's soldiers had reached the workshop. We go underground, Jack said quickly. There's a tunnel. They ran, not fast, but determined. Arinya walked beside Jack through the rocky canyon path. Sparks flew from her leg joint, but she kept moving. Behind them, the workshop exploded. Jack didn't look back. They made it to the tunnel just in time. It was dark and cold inside. But Arinya stopped walking. Jack turned. She was looking at something, an old mural on the stone wall. It was faded, but still clear. A woman with long white hair and a crown. Behind her, thousands stood kneeling. Jack whispered, "Your mother." Arinya stepped forward. She raised her robotic hand and touched the mural. She was strong. "You are too," Jack said. "I want to rise." Jack looked at her with fierce pride. "Then we'll help you rise, Arinya, step by step." In the shadows, rebel eyes watched, and deep below the surface a forgotten army began to stir. The Baron's fury, Baron Thraz, slammed his fist into the crystal throne. The sound echoed across the marble walls of his war chamber. Holograms floated around him, security footage, glowing maps, and flashing reports. His voice thundered. "She walks? That girl was supposed to be silent forever." A trembling guard bowed low. "We have confirmed sightings, my lord. The human has rebuilt her. She now uses an exoframe. She even speaks." The Baron's red eyes burned with rage. "She was never meant to rise," he hissed. "She was the scar on my legacy, and now, that filthy human is turning her into a symbol." He raised one hand. "Send the hunters. Burn every hiding place. I want her captured. No, broken." Meanwhile, deep in the underground tunnels of old Valkyria, Jack and Arinya walked through ancient halls once ruled by her ancestors. The walls still held broken statues, old royal flags, and stories no one remembered. They entered a vast cavern, where lights flickered on, one by one. Waiting inside were hundreds of eyes. Aliens in armor, scars on their faces, stood silently. They were old royal guards, forgotten when the Baron took power. Rebels, survivors. At the center stood a tall woman with a single eye and a blade on her back. She looked at Arinya, then knelt. "We waited for your return, Princess." Jack was stunned. "They remember her?" The warrior nodded. "We never forgot. We saw her carried away in silence, and we knew the day would come when she'd rise again." Arinya's robotic voice replied, "I am not who I was, but I will fight for who I must become." Suddenly, explosions rocked the outer walls. The Baron's hunters had found them. Jetpacks roared overhead. Tall, insect-like soldiers in black armor dropped into the tunnels, their plasma weapons glowing. Jack grabbed Arinya's arm. "We can't fight them all, but—" Arinya turned to the rebels. Her voice rose through the speaker, stronger than ever. "Do not fight for me. Fight for the future." The rebels roared. Blades clashed. Plasma bolts fired. The air turned into a storm of fire and screams. Jack shielded Arinya behind a metal wall as the fighting continued. A rebel fell beside them, but not before tossing. Jack a stolen blaster. Jack had no choice, he fired. For the first time since the war, he killed again. Not for glory, but for her. After the battle, the ground was covered in smoke and silence. The Baron's hunters were pushed back but not defeated. Jack wiped blood from his face and looked at Arinya. She was standing tall, her exoframe now scratched and sparking. "You okay?" he asked. Her voice answered, "They won't stop. Not until I stop him." Jack nodded. "Then we don't hide anymore. We take the fight to him." Arinya looked up toward the ancient ceiling. "We rise tomorrow." And above them, far in the palace tower, Baron Thraz stared at a final warning report. "The princess lives." His face twisted into hate. "Then tomorrow, I kill my own blood." Rise of the daughter. A low hum echoed through the rebel cavern. Everyone stood still. Arinya walked slowly to the center platform, her exo-frame now enhanced with dark armor plating, glowing blue lines, and a new stabilizer built by Jack himself. On her back, a royal crest burned with silver light. She wasn't just walking, she was commanding. Jack stood nearby, watching silently as rebels formed a circle around her. Old soldiers, young fighters, techsmiths, even children hiding behind. Walls peeked out to see her. An old speaker system crackled on. And then, for the first time in her life, Arinya spoke to a crowd, not through whispers, not through blinking lights, but through her voice, mechanical yet strong. "I am the daughter of the woman who built peace. I am the wound the Baron tried to hide. I am not broken. I am proof that even those cast aside can rise again." The Yao. Rebels stood taller. The torchbearers lit the old banners, and the symbol of the lost queen glowed again on the cavern wall. Jack felt goosebumps crawl up his arms. He leaned to her and whispered, "You were born to lead."
In the rebel workshop, Jack worked day and night. He built her a new command rig, a hover unit she could control with thoughts alone. It moved with grace, speed, and strength. Her armor adjusted with every brain signal. She could fly now. She could fight. But more than that,
she could inspire. Every radio station on the planet began hearing her signal. "To the people of Valkyria, you were told I was gone, but I am still here, and I remember you." The cities buzzed with whispers. The Baron sent warnings, but even his own officers hesitated. Far from the palace, in a refugee camp, an old alien woman heard the broadcast. She dropped her metal bowl and stared at the sky. "She's alive," she whispered. "The child of hope is alive." In the palace, Baron Thraz sat in silence. Reports flooded in, entire units refusing orders. Barracks empty. Crowds forming in the streets chanting her name. He clenched his jaw. She was never meant to be more than a burden. His advisor spoke nervously. "She is not a burden now, my lord. She is becoming a legend." Thrazy stood. "Then I will destroy that legend with my own hands." He walked toward the throne and pulled out the ancient weapon of the royal line, a blade only the true bloodline could hold. The blade rejected him. It sparked, then fell to the floor. Thraz stared at it, stunned. In the rebel base, Jack showed Arinya the same blade, smuggled by rebels loyal to her mother. When Arinya touched it, the blade hummed with light. She lifted it high with her robotic arm, and it didn't resist her. It welcomed her. Cheers erupted, all around. For the first time, Arinya wore a crown, not of gold but of steel and starlight. The people didn't just follow her now, they believed in her. And tomorrow, she would return to the palace, not as a joke, not as a prisoner, but as the true heir of Valkyria. The Empire's reckoning. The skies over Valkyria turned red at dawn. Storm clouds gathered above the royal palace, swirling like fire and shadow. From every rooftop, tower, and street, citizens gathered, silent, watching, waiting. They knew something historic was coming. No soldiers guarded the palace gates. They had all left. A deep hum echoed through the air, A single hovercraft approached, the throne square, slow and silent. At its front stood Arinya, tall in her armored exoframe, her crown glowing, her hand gripping the ancient royal blade. Behind her, rebel fighters moved with discipline and quiet resolve. Jack stood at her side, scarred but proud. They entered the palace with no resistance. No one dared stop them. The great throne room, once filled with mocking laughter, now stood silent. Baron Thraz waited alone. He wore his full ceremonial armor, a cruel jagged crown upon his head, his face twisted with rage. "You dare enter my hall, broken child?" Arinya's voice echoed back, calm but sharp. "It was never yours." The Baron roared and charged, swinging a stolen plasma axe. Arinya didn't flinch. She stepped forward, her exosuit reacting instantly. Her blade clashed with his weapon. Sparks flew across the hall. The crowd gasped. Jack wanted to jump in, but he didn't. This was her battle. The Baron was strong, but Arinya had purpose. Blow after blow, she pushed him back, not with speed, but with resolve. "Why won't you stay down?" Thraz screamed. "Because I never fell," she replied, and with a final strike, disarmed him. He dropped to the floor, defeated, gasping. Around the room, the old guards and nobles lowered their heads, then slowly, they knelt. Outside, the skies began to clear. A bright sun broke through for the first time in months. Jack stood by Arinya as she ascended the royal platform, not as a puppet, not as a shadow, but as queen. She looked out at the people gathered, thousands, aliens. Of every kind, every age, every background. She raised her blade, then her hand. No more silence, no more fear. "This is not my victory, it is ours." The crowd erupted. Cheers, tears, hope. Jack turned to leave the stage, thinking his part was done. But Arinya stopped him. She reached out her metal hand and took his. She raised it high, beside hers. "This human," she said, "saw value when no one else did. He gave me freedom. I now give him family." The people chanted both their names. Later, in the garden her mother once built, Arinya sat beside Jack. Her robotic hand traced the petals of a glowing alien flower. Jack looked at her. "Do you feel it, the peace?" She nodded. "I was once a joke," she said. "Now I'm a voice." Jack smiled. "And what will that voice say?" She turned to him, her eyes filled with stars. "That broken does not mean forgotten. That even a human can save a galaxy by believing in just one girl." And across the stars, her voice carried on. A legend, a queen, a daughter no one wanted, who became everything. The end.